Hello all, wherever you may be around the world, and a very warm welcome to Day 3, Digital Marketing Day, the last day of our MEF Connects Digital Transformation event. Now, some of you around the world, you will have heard of a chap called Dean Schneider. Dean Schneider is a Swiss guy. He created a financial services company, sold it very, very young, moved to Africa, and is involved with animal not conversation. He does speak to the animals as well, but conservation. So he has befriended lions and many other types of animals. And one of the types of animal he helps is the cheetah. And I never knew, did you know, that the cheetah is the largest animal that can purr? So there we have it. Now, it's very, very fitting to introduce next our session with Cheetah Digital. Cheetah Digital are going to be talking about the world of enterprise apps, which are very, very important and form an important pillar within the world of omni-channel business messaging as well. So pleased to introduce Mr. Andy Gladwin, Head of Global Mobile Go-to-Market with Cheetah Digital. Andy, hi.
Good morning, James, and thank you for the introduction.
No, great. I apologise if it was a little bit cheesy, but hey, who knew the cheetah is the largest purring cat on the planet? And if
I did not know, and it's nice to know that we have MEF's David Attenborough with us today as well. So thank you for that. Great to be with everyone this morning. I'm Head of Mobile at Cheetah Digital. We are a cross-channel digital marketing solution that places data and value at the heart of what we provide our customer with.
Fantastic.
And today, it comes with great pleasure to discuss the value of enterprise apps with many channels to choose from should enterprise continue to invest in this sector. We look at the distinctive features of this environment and how enterprises can leverage value from this channel. And joining myself, I have Barry Nolan, who is the Chief Strategy Officer of Swrve, one of Cheetah's strategic partners in mobile and a serial Gartner leader in mobile marketing.
Andy, apologies for interrupting you, but I'm off. I've done my intro bit. Unless you want me on the panel, I'm off. All the best. Bye.
Thank you, James. So let me pass over to Barry, who is the Chief Strategy Officer of Swrve, to introduce yourself, Barry, and share a brief background on who is Swrve and what do you provide enterprises with.
Sure, Andy, thanks very much. I think you did a much better job than I did, to be honest, as you always do. So Swrve is a sort of a global leader in mobile engagement and delivering customer experiences through mobile apps. Our specialty is really large enterprises like Emirates Airlines or Ryanair or Disney and such. You know, at the end of all of our customer apps, there's about 1.7 billion consumers on a monthly basis. We've seen tremendous growth over the last year, probably driven by a lot of pandemic changes in consumer behavior. We're a great partner of Cheetah Digital. We have a lot of mutual customers, and Cheetah, you know, work with us and they orchestrate experiences across email, across web, and with Swrve through mobile. So delighted to talk today.
Thank you very much, Barry. Now, also with us is from Denmark's largest operating retail, András, who is the Head of Customer Programs and Center of Excellence at Salling Group. They're a customer of Cheetah Swrve, and when we look at getting it right, that is exactly what Salling Group did when they had the #1 and #2 most downloaded apps at time of launch in Denmark. András, please introduce yourself and share a bit of brief background about the Salling Group.
Of course. Hi, good morning, everyone. As Andy mentioned, I'm András Szöcs. I'm from Denmark, and we are Salling Group, the largest retailer of Denmark. We are operating with 3 different brands. We have supermarkets, hypermarkets, and discounters. And a bit less than a year ago, we launched our loyalty program, which is a fully digital app-based loyalty program. And actually, yesterday, we celebrated the 1 million unique member in a 5 million country, which is, I think, a very, very nice milestone to celebrate also on this conference. And yes, as Andy mentioned, we are basically partnering with Cheetah. They are the provider of our loyalty solution. And recently, we just agreed with Swrve that Swrve is going to be the company going to help us to boost the weekly active users and a lot of app engagement to elevate it up to the 2.0 level.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, András. Now, let's take the first focus around the app environment. And Barry, I'm coming in with a hardball first question for you.
Thank you for that.
Should be thinking a new trade to be moving into. Jeff Lawson of Twilio says that the 2010s was the app age, and the 2020s is the era for conversational messaging. Now, there are so many channels for marketers to choose from. Have apps exceeded their shelf life as a viable channel for enterprises to focus on?
Yeah, that's a nice question to kick off. So thank you for that, Andy. And I think
You're
Robert from Cinch would be better placed, to articulate conversational commerce. I suppose I was on the phone a little earlier with one of our banking customers in Europe, and he's a CIO of that bank. And I suppose to answer your question, I suppose, this is an amazing sort of statistic you shared with me, that in any 1 minute, they have more customers inside their mobile banking app in any 1 minute than their entire branch network in a week. So 1 minute of app users exceeds their branch network for a week. They stay for 17 seconds on average. Most people come in every other day. On payday, people come in on multiple times. But he says our bank is now an app, So that's like one sort of vivid, quote to articulate that. It obviously varies by sector. If you look at Comscore data, where consumers spend their time, 8 out of every 10 digital minutes are spent on mobile, and on mobile, 9 out of every 10 minutes are spent within native mobile apps. So for many jobs that consumers have, the default, for that job will be to fire up an app. So if you want to get home, you might fire up Uber or bike sharing. If you're hungry for a burger, you might fire up Deliveroo. If you need printer cartridge, you'll fire up Amazon. If you need to chill out, maybe TikTok or YouTube or Instagram. Or if I need to pay Andy, I'll fire up Revolut, and sort of completing the circle. Revolut is a bank, isn't entirely an app, and it's actually now the largest bank across Europe. So I don't think the app age is, over, going anywhere. It's actually going up. But, Jeff is right in the sense that there's different apps, different contexts, different use cases, and they all need to be orchestrated. And I think that's the great challenge in the industry.
Absolutely. I think with those different type of apps, you have different focus areas. And so you're mentioning within the bank, it taking 17 seconds, the average time. I'm sure there are other apps saying how can they maximize the time in the app in order to have the greatest span of customer attention. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, that's an absolutely fundamental point. A lot of engagement apps such as, Facebook or Instagram, their job is to get you back repeatedly and to get you spend as long as possible because, their business model is advertising. Other apps, be it Salling Group for shopping, maybe, you want it to be as short as possible or, to check your loyalty points. You make it short, as convenient as possible for the user. So ironically, for a lot of enterprise apps where they're performing a job for the customer, you should try to optimize and minimize the time it takes. So it's frictionless, it's easy, it's more convenient, and therefore the consumers will default to that because nobody wants to, spend longer, on digital channels or call a call center. If the job can be done as quickly as possible, that's where consumers default to. That's where you'll drive behavior. So minimize engagement is a very paradoxical but good recommendation in lots of cases.
Fantastic. Now, András, you've been presented with the same dilemma as so many marketers, with a multitude of channels to engage with your customers over. What was the problem that you were solving when you chose to place an emphasis on your app strategy?
Yeah, so for us, the app is basically the full loyalty program. So we decided that we are going to go full digital. It's a single touch identification program. So basically the only interaction channel which we decided is the app. So how Barry also explained very well, for us, the key is the simplicity to support the customer journey on many different ways. So we have some functional things which the customer can complete, get great personalized offers, redeem them very, very quickly. But we also have a lot of part which is more for fun, to make the shopping trip faster, more joyful, more fun. But exactly every single point is designed in a way to serve a very specific purpose. I can mention, for example, Scan and Go, which is an easy way how you can skip the queue if you scan your item with the app, and then you can just leave the store. Of course, redeeming all the great offers which are waiting for you. We have a shopping list which the whole family can use. So the dear wife can add to a shopping list which you as a husband can see on a man list view, only focusing on the picture of the product without even knowing the name, what you need to pick up. So a lot of different elements which makes the app great and makes the app as a vital thing if you come to any of the formats of Salling Group. About the apps, if they are dying, I certainly believe it's not. Actually, half of our users, half of our unique members are in the app every single week. So we have 500,000 people using these apps every single week. They are browsing our promotional leaflet. They scan through the offers. They're using the features I've just mentioned. And what is very, very important for us, that this is all free for us. Of course, we have to develop it, but then from that point, we can just interact with customers free every single time we want.
Absolutely, thank you, András. And it's great, and really just goes off the back of some of the stats that Barry was sharing, that we as Cheetah see increasingly customers trying to say, how can they unlock mobile? And the app is so central to that, but it's trying to be where your customers are, to be very corny, but being in the preferential, habitual, and native environment. And in the example of Salling, it's not just about customers being able to redeem deals and be part of a loyalty program, but convenience and an enhancement of their shopping experience, which I think really testifies the success you've had. Taking a quick look at data now. So apps provide a unique environment where large data can be gathered to provide the valuable insights about customers. Barry, could you share some examples of the data that's used to drive value to enterprises and the consumer from apps?
Sure. I mean, I think this is, a fundamental point. People always think of apps as a channel that you send things to. But apps, and be they a web app or a mobile app or a TV app, so we all spend lots of time on OTT platforms and TV, watching TV. They are a direct consumer connection. Think of them that way. And what they are is a continuous connection to that consumer. And we always think of continuous connections as sending things to, but actually most of the direction of travel is one way, where all the data that that from that consumer and all the behavior can be slurped up. So we would ingest on a daily basis around 20 billion events. And that could be, I've just landed in Heathrow, or I've just opened the Salling Group app for the first time, or I've just, checked my points. So all of these behaviors are an incredible, can give you an incredible understanding of consumers. So this unique, stream of data, it's actually powering the next wave of systems of marketing and engagement and customer experience systems, which are all about operating in real time and anticipating customer needs. Let me give you one example from one of our customers, which is Ryanair. And they, obviously pre-pandemic, they would do about 150 million, 55 million in passenger journeys a year. Most of their, to András's points, most of their frequent travelers will book through Ryanair, do the boarding pass through Ryanair. That's where a lot of the loyal retained users are. But obviously Ryanair makes most of their money actually through ancillary revenue, right? So they break even on flights and they make their profit on ancillary. So a good example of that would be, where you book a Ryanair flight and you will get an email and you'll have your, digit code or your code, et cetera, with your reservation details and number, et cetera. And then there's 27 more ways you can spend more money with Ryanair. So let me give you one of those 27, which might be Fast Track, which is, you pay 5-6 euros and you can go through the fast queue. And that is one of their offers, on their booking email. And that's fine. It's there, it's resident, and it gets about a 0.1% engagement rate, that particular offer. Another way of doing it is if you have that data and I have that understanding of consumers. So through the app, through Swrve, Ryanair can track that, oh yeah, Barry's just broke the geofence for Stansted Airport. Actually, I see he's on, the Stansted Express, in fact. And so that's a trigger to say, oh, and we can look up and go, oh, he's flying in 55 minutes, so he may not make his flight. and he's flying alone or he's flying on business, you can look at the propensity stuff. So you can combine all these signals to say, anticipate need. He's going to miss his flight. So what Ryanair can do is trigger a push notification saying, hey, András, you have 55 minutes to make your flight. Do you want to, purchase Fast Track and fly through security? And that's a great example of using data. And that campaign is around 36% engagement rate. And it is very much like the future we see in customer engagement is anticipating needs, not necessarily with promotional messages, but actually quite a helpful message to say, hey, this will help you get through it. And that's why so many people engage. So that is the core thing, that all of this data, can be slurped up but you have to really process it, I think, in real time to extract meaning and convert that meaning and insight into interaction that adds value to consumers.
That's great. Thank you very much, Barry. Now, András, I know that you are data obsessed, like ourselves at Cheetah. How does Salling leverage data in general for your customers? But what is the enhancement that this environment provides you with?
Yeah, it's a very exciting part where to know about the reasons. So of course we are collecting all the transactional data, as we have a transactional based loyalty program. So every single receipts are stored and stamped with the customer ID, but this is the what. And with all the data which we can read from the app, we are trying to find the answers for the whys, for the reasons, for the drivers of the what. And this is absolutely critical and absolutely important, especially now more and more regulations are coming into our websites, into our web stores. So we cannot really track customers who say no to the cookies. And we can really see that it's more and more customers saying no to the cookies. With the app, of course, we have still an unlimited opportunity to understand the whys. So we can, of course, watch where people are clicking, what they can see in the promotional leaflet in the app, what offers they are interested on, how frequently they are coming back to the apps, which features they are using, which is, of course, helping us to make better and better segments, which we can turn easily to audience, and we can communicate with that. We can create the offers based on all of this data. So this is an amazing source of customer behavior, and that's what we are aiming for, to have a as complete journey about the customer and have a complete understanding as technically possible. Combining transactions with behavior, I think, is the only way how we can get to or get close to a perfect understanding.
Thank you. Fantastic. And we're talking about this weighted data, and I know that there will be multiple sessions throughout the conference focusing on data security, privacy, and some of the ethics that sit around that. But Barry, how do you see this environment changing as a lot of data policy moves forward? Is there a risk that this asset may diminish going forward?
Yeah, I mean, data and privacy is the great battleground that's going on at the moment. It started, last year, with what they dramatically call the great cookie apocalypse. I can't even say that word, which is about, putting more control in consumers' hands about what's tracked and not tracked. And arguably, it's got out of control. But in mobile, privacy is the battleground. So just 3-4 weeks ago now, Apple changed with iOS 14.5, and Google are actually going to do the exact same too. They just announced at I/O, which is a thing called ATT, which is app tracking transparency. So when you fire up an app, you will get this prompt. You were quite familiar with these prompts. Do you want to allow push notifications or location, etc. Allow Facebook to track your activity across other companies and websites. That's the actual prompt, the formal prompt that you get from Apple. So it's no surprise when you frame it like that, how few people are opting in. And I think what we're seeing is around 6% of consumers, when they get that prompt, are opting in to be tracked, which is not surprising. So if you want to track users between apps and web, or from an ad to the App Store to an install, you will need this permission from Apple, and quite soon you'll need this permission from Google. So it's no surprise that people are saying no. I think the key thing, going back to the data thing, is it's all about, data. Is it first-party data or third-party data? So third-party data, the quality, the usability, the actionability of it is being severely deprecated. Now, there'll be obvious, the inevitable workarounds, as there always is. Ironically, you would think this will hurt Google and Facebook. It's actually going to help them because they have so much first-party data of users, so they will gain from, you know, a lot of this crackdown, ironically. But it just shows that, you know, you need to invest in systems, and I know Cheetah does this particularly well, that lets you capture first-party data and understand those users and build that direct-to-consumer, you know, relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, just taking this to a different direction. We've talked about the data, and one of the points that I have so many enterprises talk to us about is, yes, there is this value in the data, but to really leverage it and to create, you know, the perfect nirvana of what enterprise is looking for, they want to have continuity and context across the customer journey, across the different channels. I mean, firstly, just looking at the channels themselves, you're talking about push to get people to the app, and then in-app being messages reacting to behaviors within the app. So two different environments, which we've been careful to refer to this as app engagement rather than push. But Barry, could you just start by giving us a bit of a view on, we obviously have our partnership in place, but what's the benefits that you see and hear and experience from breaking down the channel silos and integrating this alongside the rest of a digital marketing strategy?
Yeah, I mean, you can crudely, you know, break it up between channels that engage, you know, outside of apps, which is email, which is SMS, which is push notifications, and channels that engage inside the app, which will be things like, you know, obviously in-app messages, and I'll come on to just nuances around that and important nuances around that, and also, but even more powerfully, embedding inside the core, you know, natively inside the core, you know, UI of the app. So they're the two great demarcations, you know. Frequently people think about mobile, you know, a mobile engagement or app engagement as push, you know, and that's probably the least efficacious channel. It is super important in context, and the Ryanair example is a very good example. But most of the interaction that people, most of the heaviest use of those channels from the, you know, Swrve customers would be in-app. You know, in-app, be there an overlay or embedded and right inside it. And the efficiency of that is incredible. So typically you get 20-30% engagement on an in-app message. On an embedded message, you'll actually get about 50% because it looks less like an ad often, and it's especially if you combine it with really good personalization. I suppose the key meta point is consumers don't give a damn about channels. They don't see channels. They just see one consistent or one inconsistent experience. And, you know, often these inconsistencies are manifested in channels. You know, you get one message on email, another message via, you know, SMS or push, etc. So, you know, I think the solution or the approach is really twofold. One is communicate in context. You know, a lot of our customers, you know, we're embedded inside TVs, you know, inside, you know, the, you know, apps that you see in TVs. And, you know, this is the only place those consumers interact. So that's the only place you should be communicating with them. They don't go to websites to, you know, or even on, you know, mobile web to view a TV show. They just do it on the big screen. So communicate in context. And also context in terms of behavior. If you go back to that banking example above, you know, where most of their customers are inside the app, they stay for 17 seconds. The timing of that interaction is critical. So if you fire up your banking app, you're there to do a job. You're typically to look up money, do I get paid, or to move money. So if you start interrupting that flow of that consumer to say, hey, do you want to, you know, check out our mortgage rates or whatever, you know, that interaction might be, they're going to dismiss you instantly because you're getting in the way of them doing the job. So the nuance of triggering is absolutely critical. So if you trigger just after they've done the job, your engagement rate will be through the roof. So it's really about, and then the larger meta point though is you need to invest in systems that orchestrate across channels and orchestrate across customer journeys. And I know that's something that Salling is investing in.
That's a seamless way of me passing over a question to András now. So, András, is what Barry's saying true? I mean, there's all the theory behind it that we go out and talk about and try to educate customers with, but what are the ingredients that make this possible, and how does Salling manage journeys to ensure that there's a frictionless experience, the continuity, and customers are served in a personalized fashion?
Yeah, it's absolutely true what Barry said, but it's of course it's an idealistic future which we are aiming for in Salling Group. So obviously we have a very good plan how to exactly separate that, so detach customers from the channels, because we unfortunately still have a very channel-based strategy, but we are more and more moving into a direction that the channel doesn't really matter, but just land the message in the customer's head. And I fully agree with Barry that in-app interactions and app-related interactions are much more efficient than anything outside from the app. So we can also see that currently the most efficient way of pulling people into the app are the push notifications. That's why we selected Swrve. That we would like to elevate this up to a better level by making the segmentation into the push notification, making the personalization into the push notification, and reach the push notifications with different layer of contents, like the promotional leaflet, like the relevant offer, like a very simple naming, emojis, maybe even moving element contents. Currently, we are on a very basic level with that, and of course, completing this with in-app messages and thinking about the whole journey with a very concrete business value or a business purpose. That's basically our aim. Emails, SMS, and any other kind of interactions, honestly speaking, that's what I see more and more. It's very difficult to make it real, make it clicked, make it actioned. I'm not 100% understand why is the case, but it still seems that once customer decide that they are willing to download the app and they would like to interact with us via the app, they are really happy and really reacting well to the messages related to the app or coming from the app. That's how I see the picture at the moment.
And from some of the behaviors you see in the app, András, are you able to share information that you may gather in terms of consumer behavior in the app, and then how that may influence the way in which you continue that relationship for the next email you send to a customer, or an SMS, for instance?
That's exactly the database which we are trying to build up, and that's exactly how we would like to make another layer of segmentation from a big customer base, that what's the level of interaction they are willing to receive, and then of course optimizing it for channels, optimizing it for frequency, optimizing it for sending time, basically optimizing it for everything. Because obviously if the content is very relevant, then there is no problem. But even if we cannot make always a super relevant content, by just feeding them with the right level of information or with the right frequency of interaction, that's what we believe they will still be happy to receive it and won't opt out, because that's a very important measure to make sure that we are not be over pushy. Then once we lose a customer, it's super difficult to get him or her back.
Okay, completely agree. And I think that down any channel there is good and bad practice, and when it comes to app engagement like email or SMS or anywhere else, frequency is so key. But as key as getting what do we feel from the data we have is the right cadence to be sending messages, is listening to the customer, asking for preferences. What do you want down each channel, and with what frequency would you like to be receiving it, and is there a sector, segment, etc. that you would like to self-categorize in? Just looking at value though, you've shared with us what I see is the problem for Salling, why you have moved into the space, the loyalty that's being created through this. But what are the success metrics that you look at to say this is working well or not? And is that easy to identify? I know that when we started talking some time back, when we were setting this up, you were saying the ambition was to sell more milk. And I'd love to have a little bit more detail around milk, but also the other metrics that matter, so that other enterprises may learn from it.
Yeah, of course. Retail is a pretty simple business, so that's one of the reasons I like it very much, because at the end of the day, the ultimate KPI arrives every morning into your mailbox is the daily sales. That's super critical. But how to make the daily sales bigger via an efficient channel, how to alert customers about the most relevant message which we are spreading every day, every week out, maybe that's also a success we measure. So of course, the reason why we love engaged customer, not just transactionally with our stores, but also emotionally with our applications, because that's for us the cheapest and most efficient way to communicate with them. So obviously we are using all channels. We have still printed leaflets, we are on TV, we are in radio, we are on Facebook, Insta, we have newsletters, etc. But the app is the channel where we can be the most personalized, is still the cheapest channel to communicate. And last but not least, it is super fast. So in retail, to react on any circumstance, like a weather, like a great promotion, like a great new deal which we receive, an immediate reaction is critical. And with the app, with the great architecture and the great solution which we built, we can be extremely fast, which is in retail. It's a very new thing which we are just experimenting, because 5-10 years ago it was only the promotional leaflet where the lead time was 6 weeks. Now we have a channel where the lead time is 2 hours. So this is of course why it's critical for us to transform as many customers into this owned and new channel, so to say. That's how we measure the success.
Fantastic, very powerful. And so just with respect for time, I'm going to finish with a little focus on the future. So Barry, firstly, now to go back to another hardball, Gartner has a study that says that by 2025, 80% of customer services will move away from native apps to messaging channels. How do you see the evolution of mobile apps and their position within the digital future of digital communications? And how have things changed over the recent COVID period in terms of some of the behaviors? And is that something that enterprise should plan with those behaviors in mind, or where we were before? So a bit of a long question, but share what's happening in the future.
Yeah, Gartner and statistics, it really depends who's paying them for that, publication, of course. I spoke about the data points before. Consumers speak with their thumbs. They're spending most of their days inside apps, regrettably or opportunistically. What we have seen, though, in the last year is 50% growth in app usage. So massive amount our customers are seeing of new consumers coming in, a massive amount of changed behaviors. Consumers doing something for the very first time, like shopping. I was just looking at some statistics from the UK and e-commerce, for the past 12 months of lockdown, it's been like a forced adoption, almost like a forced experiment. And we can pull a lot of future growth in and see it, So if you look at e-commerce in the UK, it was just about 19% of all commerce, before pandemic. And right now it's around 36%. And that's even after all the shops are open. If you actually extract, the Sallings and the grocery from that, it is over 50%. So fundamentally, what has happened the last year is we've obviously seen a massive amount of growth in digital. That's here to stay. And I think the big change that we are seeing, from a lot of our enterprise customers is they understand the importance of building that direct-to-consumer relationship. And that's what the business that we're all in, is building that direct-to-customer relationship, which has many accesses. It has an understanding of users. It has the ability to engage with them more thoughtfully and more personally, and a focused on delivering, great customer experiences. Because it's not about engagement. It's not about, other things. It's about, if you deliver a frictionless, good customer experience, that is the key signal to drive retention and growth into the long term. So I think this last 12 months has just really put the rocket boosters on this digital transformation.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I personally, and we at Cheetah, believe it is there to stay. And I think Supermarket's a great example of how the customer experience can be made so much better and enhanced using apps. And likewise, it could be used as a great form of removing risk in terms of going digital rather than physical during a pandemic, but also removing ambiguity from the consumer by keeping them informed in the channel that sits in their hand. Now, my final question goes to András. And András, I'm no longer going to focus on you and your future, but for you to influence the future of other enterprises. if you could give one piece of advice on the considerable success that Salling have enjoyed that other enterprises could benefit from, what would it be?
I always say simplicity. So when you create an app which is serving let's say a purpose like Orban's, to make the shopping trip seamless and joyful and omnichannel and easy, focus on simplicity. If you want to go for a crowd who contains everybody, you should do a grandma test. If your grandma can download, register, come in and start to use it, then you build something good. If you fail on this grandma test, then you made something too complex, too many screens, too many questions, too many buttons. Keep it simple as possible.
Fantastic. Simple answer, but a powerful one. Well, to conclude, we see apps having a function, a future, and ongoing value to brands. And yes, there are features that will make the most out of engagement within this environment, but data really is the key to successful personalization, context, continuity in customer relations, regardless of channel. And we at Cheetah, we see the companies who can leverage data, manage it, and action it well, and tie that data across a agnostic channel strategy is those who succeed, like Salling, versus others who are less mature in this space. So from us, I want to say a big thank you to András and Barry for all of their insight and time today. And should we have time, open it up for any questions. Now, there is one question I have been sent across here earlier regarding OTT. Now, with OTT, I'm going to assume that is not regarding OTT for web and television, which Barry provided some information on, but for chat. And a lot of the focus today in the conference is around WhatsApp business messaging, RCS, and other chat environments. András, I'm gonna put this question towards yourself. Within your app right now, you have a chat functionality. How do you see Salling evolving in this space? Do you see yourselves moving out into third-party apps for chat going forward? Do you want to keep it on your premises within your own environment? And what's the logic that you hold today for having it within the app?
Currently, the chat functionality is used only for customer service feature. So if customer have a problem, instead of a phone number, we provide the chat functionality, which is an embedded feature. I'm not at all willing to move that one out. Honestly, customers really appreciate that feature. We see that it's a very, very efficient channel to handle problems. So my clear answer is no, we would like to keep it inside.
Perfect, succinct and clear. Gentlemen, MEF, thank you very much for having us all. We really appreciate it, and I think we are there at times. So thank you once again from Cheetah and the team.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, András. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everybody.